just have to do the work. If you do the work, you can have anything you want in your life. That's kind of was my mantra as well. If I do the work, I can have anything I want in my life. And I would go back to work, discipline myself, go back, go back, go back. Very hard. It was very hard, but it's a process.
Welcome to the podcast. Today I'm talking with Thibaut Meurisse, who is an acclaimed author and personal development expert, and mentor who sold over 500,000 books worldwide and reached over 1 million readers. His best-selling book, Master Your Emotions, has transformed lives and been translated into multiple languages. Thibaut's journey began in 2017 when he left his job to pursue his passion for personal development and writing. Overcoming personal challenges has allowed him to immerse himself in the self-development world and allowed him to share some unique insights through public speaking, YouTube videos, and writing. Today, Thibaut serves as a mentor and coach to high performers, helping them achieve extraordinary results. I'm going to be diving into Thibaut's journey, and we'll be discussing his upcoming book called Do the Impossible: How to Become Extraordinary and Impact the World at Scale, a book about finding a mindset that will allow you to become self-actualized. So please welcome Thibaut Meurisse. So I would love to just hear your thoughts and what is Do the Impossible about, and why did you decide to write it?
Yeah. So to give you background, I wrote about over 20 books so far since 2015. And this book is kind of the summary of everything I've been working on for the past 5 to 10 years and how to really think of, let's say I want to impact the world. I want to impact, I don't know, 1 million lives or 10 million lives. Like, what can I do exactly to get there? What's the mindset and what is the framework I can use? What's the strategy I can use to hopefully get there in 5, 10, 20 years? Because it's all about long-term thinking as well. You have to be really a long-term thinker. So that's kind of the idea behind the book.
Where did you find the mindset and the information and the knowledge that you have in relation to the book and this idea of having a mindset that can allow you to achieve things you otherwise wouldn't have thought you could achieve?
Honestly, just over time, it's experience. Because I started like everybody. I didn't have a network. I wasn't a writer. I didn't have anything going for me in that sense. And I had to learn from scratch how to write a book, how to market a book, how to keep going for years, how to keep believing in myself. And over time, I realized, oh, what I can do more than I believed I could do. And what else can I do? And I just realized that there's not that much limit to what we can do. It's just a matter of what do we want and like how hard are we willing to go after what we want and how hard we believe in ourselves. So we need to work on building those skills over time. So that's what I discovered in my journey over the years.
And so, how can we identify and overcome some of these self imposed limitations and societal conditioning?
I guess we have to look at what result we're having in life, but what's the starting point? Am I struggling in my relationships? Am I struggling in my business, in my work? Am I struggling with making money? And when you look at why are you struggling in that specific area, what's stopping you from going to the next level? And once you've done that, you want to surround yourself with knowledge, books, mentors, maybe it's coaches, and keep working and learning as much as you possibly can in that specific area of your life. Because it's crazy that so many people don't actually learn about like an important topic in their life. And in today's world, we have all the books out there. Information is almost free. We just have to really decide to learn and to keep going until we have the knowledge we want to have and the result we want to have in the long term.
And so, one of the things that you mention in the book is that most people don't actually know what they want, and they'll just follow somebody who does know what they want. And they never think
Yes.
about for themselves how they'd actually like their life to be. And they lack that exciting vision to kind of propel them into the future. How can we find what it is that we truly want that's separate from what society tells us we should want?
I think first thing I would do is try to have more time on your own by yourself to think about what you want in your life. Because, today's we have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube shorts, all these videos, and it's really hard to have a time to think for an hour, for a few hours about what you really want in your life. And then you can just take a pen and a piece of paper, write down what do I want in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What do I like to do? What is the absolute like ideal for my life that I think would be nice to have? And keep working on that because the vision is really something you refine over time. You don't have clarity at one point, and that's it for the rest of your life. It's always an ongoing process of do I still want that? Or what can I change about that vision that I have that would make it even more inspiring or even more better in the next 5 years? We have to keep refining what we want and the vision we want to pursue over time. So that would be one thing, spending time alone. And then you want to spend time with people who will actually inspire you to do more. Because you probably know the famous saying that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And you want to try to find people who will really inspire you to become a better version of yourself. And I know for me, that's been very inspiring to be around people who are maybe healthier. Like some of my friends are into longevity, some into diet, some into business. And it's really nice to have this kind of group that is helping you grow as well. So that would be a second thing I would look into. And the third thing would be, what are my strengths? What do I like to do? What do I do during my spare time? What do I volunteer for? And look at really what are you doing on your own by yourself. We don't have the pressure of society that is telling you what you should be doing with your life. So it could be volunteering, some hobbies you have. What do you read, for instance? Do you read about philosophy, politics, sports? So whatever it may be. So that's the thing I would look into to try to find the passion we have inside and start working toward our vision.
In your book, you mentioned this Mark Twain quote, which I love. He says, I can teach anybody how to get what they want out of life. The problem is I can't find anybody who can tell me what they want. And so it's spending time by yourself, being alone, asking yourself, and it's a process. It's a process that requires a certain level of commitment to really extract from your inner world exactly what it is that you want to achieve and do in this world.
Yeah. And I would like to mention as well is like taking action, the more you do in the world, the more feedback you get from the reality around you. And if you try to do so many things in your 20s, for instance, you're going to learn so much about yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're bad at. And it's going to help you really find out what you want to do in your 30s or in your 40s and beyond. So taking action, absolutely, we have to take more action. Starting small, we have to do more.
And in one of your chapters, you mentioned what you refer to as fundamental assumptions about human beings. Can you discuss what you mean and perhaps give me some examples?
Yeah, I mean, when you want to have some kind of impact in the world, you have to think how does the world work? Not how I wish it would be, how is it? How it is, so that you can actually start working on the world and have an impact. So for instance, one example I'd say is like, you can act out of fear or out of love. So for instance, you can be either acting because you're trying to get something from the world. So it's kind of mindset of lack and scarcity and trying to be famous, trying to make more money and so on. Or you can realize that, okay, it's not a zero-sum game. I can go out in the world and I can give information, I can give feedback, I can learn, I can try to help people with my business. I can serve people, I can contribute to the world in some way. I can add value to the world in itself. So that's one thing you can realize, okay, I can add value to the world. I don't have to be scared. I can actually create more value and, increase the economy. Think about countries like Japan after World War. They didn't have like oil, they didn't have gas, they didn't have a lot of resources to actually grow their country. But because they had human capital, people are working super hard. They're creating a lot of wealth in the next 30, 50 years. So I think we have to think in terms of realize we can always create more value. And that's actually wealth, in a sense, can come from within yourself. So that's one thing I would say about understanding reality and how it works.
When you mentioned that the two incentives that rule the world are fear and love, that really hits home because I'm somebody who grew up in foster care. I had all these roadblocks in my life, and when I was 14, I had a business, but then I was literally in foster care while I'm trying to run this business, and I was picked on, and I thought all these negative things about myself. And that fear of being homeless is what drove me for so many years to try and be successful. And the kind of ironic thing is the more successful I became, the less motivated I became. And now I'm at a point, I don't know if you've read the book called Second Mountain by David Brooks, where he describes it's a fantastic book where he describes the first mountain, which is fame, riches, glory, success. And most of us are trying to get to that first mountain. But then the second mountain is trying to be part of something larger than yourself. It's being part of a community, having a social impact. And I think that's a good example in terms of what you say, in terms of this fear and love, is we're either being driven by a fear, which is kind of a negative force, or we can be driven by love and a positive force. And so, as somebody who's trying to find that motivation that is associated with love and less with the fear, what advice would you be able to provide for me?
And the first thing I would say about fear is like it's not all bad, like as you say, it can drive you to be successful over time. And fear is also a motivator, a very powerful motivator we have. So the problem is when you start only using fear as your main source of motivation in your life. If you're only trying to escape from a situation in your life, it becomes a little bit hard to stressful maybe, and not really fulfilling. Advice would be try to focus on what can I do, how can I add value, how can I contribute in my own way, and how can I express myself in a way that is actually impactful in the world. So again, not trying to get something outside in the external world, but realize that you have something within yourself and to expand that you have within yourself as much as you possibly can. It might be maybe you're a very compassionate person. It might be compassion. It might be you're very inspiring. You're a very good teacher, a very good writer, a very good speaker. So whatever it may be, you want to work on that and expand it to the full of your possible as much as you possibly can. That's the way I think about fear versus love. Expressing yourself versus trying to complete yourself with something outside of yourself. It doesn't work in the long term, in my opinion.
And in your book, you mentioned that there are three things that we seem to have control over, which are our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, actually, I start with saying we have three things we can control: so thought, feelings, action. But in the end, if you think about it, it's only one thing, which is what you're thinking. Because what you think influences how you feel and what you do, to really be simplified. And then your thoughts is also influenced by different things. Your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world, your surrounding, your education, your environment, the culture you grew up into. So you have all these different factors. And that's why in the book I talk about focusing really on how can you increase your belief, work on your thinking, be a better thinker, think bigger, be more convinced about your vision, what you want to do. Because ultimately everything will come from, or most of the thing will come from what you believe about yourself and the world as well. So your assumptions about the world, what you talked about before, fundamental assumptions about the world are useful, and also what you believe about yourself, so that you can actually go out in the world, take action, and have an impact.
And so I think a lot of people have a lack of self compassion for themselves. And so, what advice would you give to somebody that really feels like they're a screw up and they aren't capable of achieving all these things? What's the first step that they should take?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of self compassion. It might be probably even more important than self esteem, because if you try to love yourself and everything is good, but it's not going to work all the time. You're going to have bad time. You're going to beat yourself up. You're going to have setbacks. It's way better to think of yourself as as being full of self compassion and trying to pick yourself up. And so one thing I would say is change how you talk to yourself. Just a few words like, you're doing okay. Hey, Thibaut, you're doing okay. It's fine. You'll do better next time. You want to try again. It's okay. You tried something, it didn't work, but you tried. It's good. So we want to start reframing how you talk to yourself. And I did that years ago when I was working on the business. I learned about self-compassion and I just used it for years now. Every time it would be hard, I would say, it's okay, Thibaut, you're doing your best. Keep going forward. Try again tomorrow. So that's one thing, the self-talk. The second thing is to start small, have small goals in the short term and keep making progress every day, daily progress, slowly but surely. And that will also help, increase self-esteem and increase maybe self-love in a sense. So that's what I would say about self-compassion and loving yourself more in a sense.
It's really by taking those small steps to reinforce your internal beliefs. And there's another technique you probably haven't heard of. It's called WOOP, which stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, and Plan. And I found that to be tremendously helpful for me in terms of achieving my goals because it's a visualization about the future. And you do what's also called mental contrasting, where you envision what it feels like to have achieved that goal, but then you also envision what it feels like if you don't achieve that goal. And that creates a sort of internal intrinsic motivation, if you will. And so that's just a side tangent, just something I've personally found helpful.
Yeah, and I would also say like what I do is I like to envision the worst case scenario, like what if everything goes wrong? Because when you prepare your mind, okay, maybe it might go very, very wrong, but you already know it. So if it happens, you're like, okay, yeah, sure. I knew about it. I knew it was a probability, and you're better able to bounce back from that setback. But if you believe like, oh, it's going to be easy, and you're kind of too optimistic in a sense, it might be a bit harder when something like that happens to you.
Hmm.
So that's one more trick I would apply. I would use myself.
Can you tell me what is the law of cause and effect?
It's kind of just simple idea that whatever you do has consequences. So instead of being like maybe being a little bit of a victim, or I cannot change anything about my life, it's just how it is. We're okay, yeah. If I do something, there will be something back. There will be some consequences over time, good or bad. And so you want to learn to, oh, what can I do to improve the likelihood I'm successful, I'm happier, or getting the result I want in my life. So just taking ownership of your actions, again, your thoughts and your action, so that in the real world you will have the consequence. And again, that you have to be aware that there might be a gap between the time you act and you get result. Sometimes years.
Mhm.
So people sometimes they start believing about, oh, I want to do this, I can do that, everything is possible, it's great. But it might take years before what you believe actually start becoming a reality. There's a time gap that people have to understand. That's just how it works in the physical world. It's like you have to focus your thoughts intensely enough for long enough until they become like a crystal clear reality and actually have an impact on the world. That's how I would frame it.
You mentioned that whether it's writing a book, running a marathon, or speaking on stage, we often never give ourselves a chance to succeed in these challenges because we don't believe we can. And I run into that so often of people who I know are capable of so much more, but they have these self-limiting beliefs that prevent them from even feeling like they might make an attempt at it.
Yeah, I mean, so most people would have the assumption that they cannot do something. They have something they cannot do. They're like, oh, I could never do that thing. And I would say, instead of thinking that way, reverse it. Think, okay, my assumption is I can do anything I want, or everything is possible. That's my basic assumption about life. And then I need to go out in the world and test my assumption. Is that really, really true? And when you start taking action, you realize that it is not. Oh, wow, I can do this, I can do that, I can go on TV, I can run a marathon. What else can I do? And that's really how you start building beliefs, building momentum in your life. And there's no limit. Like you can always keep growing, in the long term. So that's what I would say. Yeah, I mean, change your assumptions. Start with, okay, everything is possible. Let's see what I can do about it now, based on my goals.
I noted something interesting that you say that there are three what you refer to as meta beliefs, and they will restructure your belief system and change everything. And those are everything is possible, everything is learnable, and every problem is solvable. Can you go into more detail about these?
Yeah, I mean, if you think of your brain as like an operating system, you need to have certain beliefs that will help you navigate through the world. So do you want to have poor beliefs like, oh, I can never do that? Why does it happen to me? And blah, blah, blah. Or do you want to have the best possible belief you can have in the world? So I was thinking, what are the best possible beliefs you could have as an operating system as you navigate through the world? And that's what I came up with. Obviously, I didn't invent anything. I heard about it. I know I just reframe it in my own way. But one is everything is possible, everything is learnable, and every problem has a solution. So these are kind of the foundations that will help you over time, believe in yourself, take more action, expand your field of possibility, expand your potential, and get better result over time. So that's how I would think about it as like as an operating system that you are training to get better result in your life.
So if it's an easy comparison to be able to look at, we can either believe we can't do these things or we can believe that everything is possible. Why doesn't everybody just make the everything is possible their default assumption?
I think nobody really told them like you can do that. They're just operating by default, by based on this society. And if you think about people like society, people are average by definition. Like average people are average, like the average. So if you do like everybody else, you're going to be average like everybody else. Just how it works. So we have to go beyond that and make a decision to retrain our mind to think differently. First, being aware of okay, I am limiting myself in some way. So we have to recognize that because oftentimes we have some setbacks, or parents tells you, oh, you can never do that. Don't try doing this, it's too dangerous. Don't go that path. So that's kind of how we are programmed in a sense to evolve through life. So we have to make a conscious decision to reprogram our mind. That's just how it works, I believe. Yeah.
When I was growing up, my grandfather would always say to me, "Remember, Cody, there's always going to be somebody better than you in everything."
Yes.
And I think that's a good example about the mindset that a lot of parents have taught their children is kind of a negative connotation of don't let your ambition and your drive and what you think you're capable of to be too much because then you're going to fail. And so in some ways they're trying to protect us from failing,
Mhm.
but they're also harming us in the same way when they do that.
But like better than you about no in what sense, because we are all unique in a way. And sometimes it's not about being better, it's about what is your unique strength that you have, or the combination of strengths you have that you can use and you can combine to have impact in your life or in people's life and to really enjoy your life. It doesn't have to be being better than, but that person or worse than that person. And I really try hard again to not be into that comparison game in your life, because again, coming back to fear versus love. Again, it's fear, Or what if I'm not good enough? What if this guy is better than me? But I'm like, it doesn't matter. I do my own thing. That's what I want to do. I like it. I don't really care what people are doing on my field, in my field, for instance. So I really try to stay away from that idea about competition, basically. Like, how can I express myself, in a different way, in my own way, but actually makes sense and people actually enjoy? That's what I'm trying to think about.
And so we've talked about meta beliefs. Can you tell me what are sub beliefs?
So when I came up with these three meta beliefs, so again, everything is possible, everything is learnable, every problem has a solution. I was thinking, okay, how can I make this belief a little bit more like practical, and how can I make it easy for people to start building those beliefs over time? So, for instance, um, everything is learnable. I would say I am an unstoppable learner as a sub belief, meaning that I can learn anything I want at any time, in any situation, any skill I want, and start building the identity of someone who can actually learn and convince yourself that you are a learner. It's just who you are. It's not about I am learning something, it's I am a learner. So that's what I do inevitably. So that would be one way to start building that belief that everything is learnable. One more belief could be like sub belief would be if someone else can, I can do it as well. So that really helped me a lot when I was starting writing starting my business like years ago. Because I looked at people who were actually successful in my field and I said, okay, yeah, this guy is doing it, this guy is doing it. Okay, they're making money, I can do that. And I just decided, okay, they can do it, I can do it. And I really tried to learn everything I could about what they were doing to increase my chance or my odds of success. So these are basically sub beliefs to help you implement these very big beliefs about life, big assumptions.
I love that because we often don't believe we're capable of so many things, but it's by realizing that we are capable of achieving these things. And it's only by going beyond what's possible that we will achieve the
Yeah.
impossible, as you say.
And possible is like, when I say like becoming extraordinary or doing impossible things, it's not about being Elon Musk, just for you, where you are today, what is impossible for you, and for me, like it might be small things, doesn't matter. It might be some fear you have, like irrational fears. It might be, I don't know, like maybe podcast interview. It might be running 10 miles. I don't know what is possible for you today, but you want to work on that. And over time, you can expand your field of what is possible for you in your life. So it's about being extraordinary in your own way. That is not living your life by default, but trying something a little bit more and challenging yourself a little bit more.
And so, is this some kind of unshakable belief in ourselves that we can create as a function of having successes and proving to ourselves that we have been able to do things that we once thought we were not capable of achieving? And is that something that we kind of have to overcome every single time? Or is that something that we can kind of embody?
I think you can embody it over time. If you start from zero, you're in early 20s, maybe you have no success in life, anything, you have to build it over time, starting small, achieving some goals. But the more you achieve goals and bigger goals over time, it starts becoming more like a fundamental belief that you have. Obviously, you have to keep, working at it every day, but it's more like there's more depth to it. You really believe it. You know you can do it. It's not like, oh yeah, I wish. No, I know I can do that if I want. That's this inner belief that you can develop over time.
And so I'm curious about the awareness about realizing whether we feel we're good or we're capable of achieving something. I think it's possible that we can mentally tell ourselves in our head, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, we don't believe we can do that. And that subconscious belief that we're not aware of can prevent us from taking action. It's often like we have this fear, but we're not aware that the fear exists. We just get anxiety and we don't want to do it. What advice do you have to somebody to help them become more aware about their subconscious beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, if you start noticing that, you've been procrastinating on something for years, you have to look at, okay, I'm not doing that thing, that I say I can do or I want to do. So you want to look at what are the reasons why. There's different reasons. Is it like a lack of clarity? I don't really know what I want. Or is it a lack of how to do it? I don't really know how to do that. Is it because there's too much friction for me to get started? Meaning like maybe you have to buy equipment or it's just too much for you at the time. And if so, how can you break that down to the like very, very small task that you can actually start doing? And over time, you build momentum. So you have to look at what is the reason behind that. Fear, lack of clarity, lack of knowledge of how to do it, lack of support. So I would start by trying to even write it down. Why am I not doing that? And then you will find out why, and you can start having or creating a plan to help you get unstuck and can move forward.
Is there any habit or any kind of habits or mindset that you've developed that allow you to recognize when you have a subconscious belief that is preventing you from accomplishing something? Because I think it's that awareness, right? That's so hard for most people.
Yeah,
Is it meditating? Is it
yeah.
just writing down things in a room by yourself?
I think awareness can be done anytime. It can be walking around, being present, washing the dishes, being present, meditating, observing your thoughts. So yeah, I think it's just practice. And for me, I know sometimes I start feeling a little bit bad about myself or I have some like negative thoughts. I'm like, okay, where does it come from? And like, okay, this, and then I can just erase it. Okay, but okay, I can deal with that. So it's fine. You really have to go to that point where you're aware of your thoughts, which I think require, as you say, practice. Maybe years, months of practice, meditation, observing your thoughts, journaling. You can do many different things. But yeah, I think it's practice. Yeah.
Often people seem to create this belief that they view themselves as a victim and they isolate themselves and they feel helpless and they look to others to save them. Can you tell me about that mindset and how you can go from feeling like a victim all the time and becoming powerful?
First, I think we have to realize we all are victims at some point. No, we all behave as victims during the day in different areas of our life at some point. I do, like, oh yeah, and I have to be aware of that as well. So that's something that you can maybe overcome completely. So why we have that, I think it's like a way to protect ourselves, because if you are a victim, you don't have to do something about it. You don't have to face discomfort and fears and try and get setback, have setbacks. You can just say it's not because of me and it's because of that person or that person. But the problem is every time you do that, you give your power to do something, you give it away to people around you instead of having your power to yourself and use it to change your life. So I think people have to understand that every time you play, you cannot be a victim and like transform your life in a sense. It's like opposite. You cannot be a victim and transform, become extraordinary, do extraordinary things in the world, change your life, lose weight, make money. It's really complicated. It's just for people need to understand that they need to change that if they want to have better result in their life. And even if you have good reason, you can have a good reason to be broke or unsuccessful, like child, whatever you might have in your life. That's might be a fact. But the thing is, what can you do about it? Because are you going to just complain about it for the rest of your life? Are you going to do something at some point in your life? But just reality. And I don't know what to say. Like people need to come to the realization that, okay, if I want to change, I have to do something about that situation. I cannot be like a victim forever. Even if I want to be, or like a good reason for, or people say I should be a victim because I don't know, if you're disabled or whatever it may be, issue you might have in your life. You have to go past that.
And perhaps one way we can overcome that is by seeking help from others in a way that in people who have solved issues that we're going through.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I think people also are afraid of asking for help. It's always I want to be successful by just with myself, self-made, whatever it means. No, nobody is self-made. It's like nonsense. You have to be dependent on so many, people around the world working for you, delivering your food, delivering package for you. You're always dependent on so many people in the world. And I think people have to be willing to ask for help more if you need to. And it's an ego and a pride problem, I think. People want to be, I don't know, they have too much pride or they're afraid. They don't want to disturb maybe as well. And I know for myself, I had to learn though how to ask for help, more often because I don't really like to ask for help. But I think it's really useful. And if you look at the most successful people, they tend to actually be asking a lot of questions to people around them. Or what do you think about this? How did you do that? Can you help me do that? And they want to be part of masterminds or ask questions. And that's what you want to do. Be open-minded and asking questions. And most of the time, people will want to help you if you really want to, if you're genuine in your approach.
And often, I mean, I think a lot of people and the younger generation, I mean, they resort to Google and now ChatGPT to answer questions for them. And in the past, I've had friends that would text me a question that my initial response was almost kind of like, well, you can just Google that. But then throughout in time, I've come to learn that it's a way of gaining knowledge from others and respect from others, and it creating relationships too, is asking them for their expert opinion on this subject. And I think that's something that we can all do more of, a little bit less Googling and a little bit more relying on the community and the people around us.
And it's faster, like if you really want to learn from someone, like, yes, you can go on Google, but if you need to find the information, it's going to take you a lot of time. You're going to have to do, is it the fake news? All this stuff you're going to have to deal with. But if you know someone is really good at something, say, oh, you just teach me, tell me what to do. I would do it with my friends, like one guy, my friend is into longevity. I said, oh, what book do you read? What should I eat? What do you do? Just asking questions, and wanting to improve. And it's better than Google most of the time, I think.
And so in your book, you mentioned the power of subjective reality, and you provide an exercise about doing some kind of projection of your inside world. I'm wondering if you can go into that.
Yes, I think earlier we talked about the victim mindset in a sense. So it's kind of the exact opposite of victim mindset. It's like extreme responsibility. Like you think, okay, the entire world is because of, the state of the world is because of me in a sense. That's what you would say. You see, you can argue it's not true, blah, 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 but just a thought experiment. So what if the world around me is an absolute reflection of who I am right now? And if so, what do I need to work on to change that? What beliefs do I need to change about myself? about the world. Like, what do I need to do every day? How do I need to change? And what goals could I set and achieve if I were actually in this world where I am the entire world in a sense. I think it's a really good exercise to maybe to help you take responsibility in your life, and overcome like this kind of victim mindset some people have, but would be to focus on the idea of subjective reality. I am the world in the sense, and what can I change to improve the world around me? And the funny thing is, if you actually do that, if you really, really change and look within yourself, it will have an impact in the world around you. I mean, I guarantee over 5, 10 years, going to have massive impact in the world around you. It's just how it works. So I think it's really very powerful and really interesting to do.
That internal self reflection, I think a lot of people would be able to be on a path that they would be much more satisfied with if they just took a moment every day to just do some self reflection. And I think that's something that would honestly change the world. So
Yeah.
you also mentioned how big thoughts create extraordinary leverage. Why does thinking bigger help you act from a better place?
But the thing is, when you start thinking bigger, I mean, when you create a strategy to achieve your goals, it is based on where you're going to go, where you want to go in your life. So if you have a big goal, then you're going to have a better strategy that's going to have more leverage, more impact. You're going to take bigger action every day and you're going to have better results. But if you only have very, very tiny goals, and it's going to kind of prevent you from thinking bigger, thinking long term, having better strategies, and having better results. That's why I think it's first you have to think big, and then once you have your massive vision in your life, you can break it down into the milestone, into small goals. That's fine, but you want to start with the big goal, the big vision, so you can have a better strategy and more chance to actually change your life, have an impact, and have an impact in the world.
And so, what are some things that we need to apply leverage against in order to achieve the goals and the vision that we have for ourselves?
Yeah. So in the book, I think I have seven leverage, right? I think seven leverages. One would be thinking big, so having big thoughts and having an intensity of thinking, thinking intensely, spending time to really think about your vision, build your conviction, see it as a reality, believe you can do it. So all this kind of work you can do on a day-to-day basis, like in the shower, when you go for a walk, for instance. And you have what I call accurate thinking. So that's coming back to the idea of making good assumptions about the world around you and about yourself. So if you can think accurately and you understand how the world works, you understand like psychology, incentives, maybe biology, all these kind of different fields, at least to a certain extent, then you will take better action. And again, you will have better impact, more impact, because you are aligned with reality or more aligned with reality. What would be another leverage? You have money. So the more money you have, the more you can use it as a tool to, have a team, maybe buy courses, invest in equipment, marketing. The more money you have, the more you can actually leverage and expand yourself and your impact. So it will be another form of leverage. Then you have technology, which is, for instance, algorithm. I've been using Amazon, for instance, to be successful. That really helped me. Could be YouTube, TikTok, can be having a website, SEO. So anything that can allow you to extend your impact, because you're just one person in the end. And the only way to have impact at scale is to use all possible forms of leverage. So technology, thinking bigger, thinking better. And also one leverage would be like personal development, which in a book would be things like having more perseverance, more grit, and seeing yourself as someone who's really, really perseverant. Would be having more discipline as well, because the more discipline you have, you're going to be more consistent, you're going to achieve more, and you're going to have more impact over a long period of time, a long term. So you have all these different kind of leverage you can use to, in a sense, it's about clothing yourself, like expanding yourself so that there can be thousand you, thousand me, and you have more impact with the work you're doing. And that's kind of the point of the book, to help us, one, develop the mindset, and two, develop the strategy and the leverage to actually have an impact, or at least have a chance to have an impact in the long term.
And so, what are some things that we can do to think bigger and avoid reverting to mediocrity?
I think you want to start with it's kind of hard, but you want to start with what you really want. That's your ambition. Even if it's like based in fear, maybe, but it's fine. But whatever you want to do, like you think, whatever crazy vision you have, if you have one, don't limit yourself. So I would start by not limiting myself in any possible way. What is the biggest possible vision I can have in the next, 30 years, 50 years, even beyond your own life if you want. So I would start with asking yourself that question. What's the biggest possible thing you could do if everything was absolutely possible in your life? And that's how you start breaking through, your own like limitations that you have. And one thing is again to be around people who are successful, to be in some mastermind, people who will help you change your mind, have some insights. And that's so very useful, I think, to be with people who are more successful than you currently are. Because if you spend your time with average people, you will be average most of the time. Right? It's very hard to fight against. I call it the gravitational pull toward mediocrity or average. Because if you stay around average, it's going to be very hard for you to suddenly become extraordinary overnight. You're going to have to build a process to build your mastermind, your team, your mindset, consume better information, better books, and you're going to have to do a lot of work in order to go beyond average.
And so you mentioned that it's the size and the intensity of the thoughts that allow you to have a stronger desire and thus are more likely to reach your goal. How can we increase the intensity of our thoughts?
Intensity is both a lot of repetition. So it could be visualizing your goal, every day over and over again. But what most people do is like they only daydream about a goal. They have some kind of fantasy. One day they're going to do this, one day they're going to do that. It's like daydreaming or wishful thinking. But you don't want to do that. You want to do like intense thinking, like this is what I'm going to do. And it's not the same energy. You feel like I'm going to do this. You build your conviction over time. This is what I'm doing in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next year. And you keep focusing on that vision, keep focusing on being more intense and believing that you will achieve that goal over time. And then once you've done that, at the same time, you want to take action, obviously, because if you just believe and you don't never act, it's not going to work. There's a combination of having intense conviction and beliefs and taking as much action as you can in the direction where you want to go. So that's a combination of the two.
Right. It's by asking yourself if you were to multiply this goal by 10 or 100 and seeing how you would feel. And I guess whether it would make you insecure, uncomfortable, and probably dig into those feelings and find out what's beyond that. But you're arguing for the most part that whatever goal you have, it needs to be multiplied. And then that could be the larger goal at hand. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it has to be to a point where it's a little bit scary and also it's inspiring. It's because if you go after like some kind of half-baked goal, like, yeah, my goal is this, but because it's not possible, I'm going to do this instead. And I think it doesn't work because you don't have the motivation and drive to actually act every day. But if you have your real vision that you really want to achieve, and instead you break it down into really small goals like, that you can do today, tomorrow, next week, then you're going to have better results. You're going to have more excitement. You're going to be making progress every day anyway. But again, you're going to have bigger vision, better strategy, more impactful action every day, more alignment with your vision, long-term vision. And that will have an impact in the long term. I'm talking like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or even beyond.
And so you say that whenever possible, we should spend time alone thinking of these thoughts, of these goals, and then increasing them in size. And the repetition of thinking them will increase the intensity and the feeling that we have for them.
Yeah, because it's like when you have some kind of vision or kind of dream, you want to protect it. And the problem is because people around you tend to be average, by definition, average, people are average. They're going to try to send you they send you some limiting beliefs. Oh, yeah, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Just they're going to send you some kind of limitations. And you're going to have a really hard time to protect that big vision that you have, that is way bigger. So sometimes you want to keep it for yourself in a way and keep growing it. I call it like a marinating in your own thought. So for a long time, keep increasing your convictions, you gain more clarity, work on the why you want to achieve certain goals, why does it matter, and keep working on that conviction by yourself instead of maybe sharing too much, or yeah, I think it's there's a place on that, like marinating in your own thinking and vision and beliefs.
And I love when you mentioned SpaceX and Elon Musk, and you said that when he wants to do something, he begins by asking himself the following question: does this break the laws of physics? Does he really ask that?
I heard, I think so. I think that's kind of how he thinks, because sometimes people would say, "Oh, this isn't possible. You cannot do this. You cannot have rockets and do this stuff." Say, okay, but is it actually not possible, like physically speaking? And actually, he proved it was possible. So that's kind of how he's thinking. Like the first principle, like what is true again? What is true? Start to what's the law of physics? And when I say everything is possible, it's kind of the same thing because obviously, there are physical limitations, there are laws of physics, but they are way bigger than what most of our goals, right? So it's kind of the same thing in a way. Yeah, I think it's a good way to. I just liked it. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Think about that. Does it break the law of physics for me to create a business or to do this? Oh no, so maybe it's possible.
And so you also mentioned money and relationship success. How can we apply these meta beliefs or the self talk in a way that will allow us to achieve goals in those areas?
Yeah, good question. I mean, relationships, like I think you have to believe that you will find someone that you want to be with. Because I remember I was traveling and met some guy from the US, was a very young, 25 years old. And he was telling me, "Oh, I don't really know if I can ever attract the woman of my dream." And I think you're 25, you have time, just have to
Mm.
believe. That make me realize like you have to believe, somewhere you're going to find what you want in business or in relationships. And I think that's important to, again, to believe it. Because if you don't believe it, that you can, you're not going to put the work, you're going to be, I'm not sure about it. Maybe I should give up. Maybe it's not worth it. So you have to, again, have the kind of strong belief that will help you go out there and try to find if you want to get married or find your spouse or your future wife or husband. So that's the same thing. I think would work like that. Yeah. And money, it's like you have to believe that instead of, again, you don't have to take from people. You have to believe that you can create more with your creativity, expressing yourself, creating product, adding value that is coming from within yourself, and not you don't have to take from people. And that's kind of hard to understand. When you think about it, you can actually, create. Like I know in my case, I know it's not everybody's like writing books, but for me, it's like I started from like an idea, and you create a product, and you impact people. Like starting from the invisible, there's nothing, and just using your creativity and your mindset and what you're learning, your skills, you can actually create value and have an impact. So that would be one belief, to believe that you can create more value. You can always create more value that is coming from within yourself.
It reminds me of that quote: if I had 8 hours to chop a tree down, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. And I think it's so relevant when it comes to our thoughts because our thoughts shape our actions. And too often we're just trying to do stuff and we're being busy, but we're achieving nothing. And I think if we thought more about our goals and vision, we would be able to work less and achieve more.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with distractions, like if you can do like deep work for a few hours a day for 5 years, you're probably going to do great, in any almost anything that is kind of require your brain, right?
Mm.
But people will be spending too much time, if again, no strategy, trying different things, not really doing anything that is meaningful and deep work, more like, like sending emails here, doing something there, changing their logo, whatever, whatever it may be. And I would always tell myself, I have this kind of mantra when I was trying to to make it as a writer. It's like, do the hard work. You just have to do the hard work. It's like, do the hard work. You know what the hard work is for you. So don't fool yourself into getting distracted. Do what is hard over and over and over again. And that's just what I was doing personally. But it's hard. That's why, you would want to avoid doing it oftentimes.
That reminds me of the book by Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way. And so often
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah.
in front of us that's so hard that we don't want to do, that's where we need to go.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like, facing your fear, doing something that is hard. And once you actually do it, you feel great about yourself, higher self-esteem, building momentum, creating more things. So yeah, but it's hard. Again, it's hard.
And so you mentioned to also consume inspiring content that can help empower your beliefs. And we should all consume inspirational and educational content. And so you mentioned Steve Pavlina, who I've heard before. And so is that somebody
Yeah,
you recommend? Are there other people you would recommend on the personal development front?
it's kind of where when I started, I had this kind of two whatever gurus, whatever. I had this Steve Pavlina. One guy was this guy from actualize.org. I don't know what he's doing now. He was more into spirituality in the end, more like spiritual enlightenment. Um, yeah, I think they have very good resources. They are more into like spiritual as well, spirituality. So it depends on what you like, what you want. But they have a lot of great articles and or videos. So yeah, why not? Um, YouTube videos. I know for me, when I was working on again the business, the book business, I had to stay motivated. So I would really have this kind of daily routine, reading some books, inspirational books, maybe some videos, some music, gratitude, and work trying to maintain a good state of mind so that I can actually be productive over a long period of time and keep going. So I think it's important. And maybe when you reach a point where you're like successful or like you don't need to do that much, I don't know, maybe. But I think it's good like whenever you feel down to use that note to help you to boost yourself a little bit.
And so you also mentioned the idea of having affirmations and mantras. Are those important?
Yeah, I think because no people, some people would say affirmation don't work. Some people would say it works. It depends. But the way I frame it is like every time you're talking to yourself, you're doing an affirmation basically. And we know that how we talk to ourselves does have an impact on how we feel. I mean, like if you criticize yourself, beat yourself up, you're gonna feel it at some point. So I think they matter, but it's more about your inner dialogue as well. You don't have to repeat them all the time, but it might be in your mind. When you go again, when you go for a walk, everything is possible. Why? Because I can do this, I can do that. And you want to remind yourself of the beliefs you want to have, what you want to solidify in your mind. Oh, I'm a learner. I'm an unstoppable learner. And that's what I like to do is to reinforce the core beliefs that will serve you in your life. That's what affirmations I think are for. And hey, you can be writing them down, saying them out loud, thinking about them. So you can do different things to help you.
And you mentioned that beliefs are thinking habits. And that really resonated with me. I think we don't really often think about the beliefs and
Yeah, it's
values we have. They're actually habits.
it's conditioning, and like, again, it's coming back to it's like you have your operating system working for you, but you have to program it through habits, through repetition. So that you actually, when you have a problem, you feel better, you have better thoughts about it. You can solve it instead of getting angry, for instance, or you are more resourceful instead of being a victim. And but you have to practice thinking and believing through repetition.
Right.
It's a habit. Yeah.
First, we have thoughts, and that generates beliefs. And then we act, but then that actually goes back to beliefs and thoughts. Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, because it's kind of a positive or negative feedback loop depending on what you're thinking, the good or bad. If you think like, okay, I can learn anything I want to learn, any skill I want, I can learn it. Then you go to learn a new skill, dancing, I don't know, playing the piano, podcasting, you learn something new. Then you believe, oh, I can learn this. So you reinforce the belief that you can learn anything you want. And then you go back, oh, no, now I'm going to learn this. And again, become more confident. And you keep doing that. So that's coming back to what you talked about earlier, like creating the beliefs over time. Like it kind of become a foundation that you have within yourself. I know I can learn this. I know I can do that. So yeah, that's how I would say. So it's a feedback loop.
And so, as we think about bigger thoughts, we can sometimes face doubt. And perhaps we overshoot the mark. Perhaps we aim too high. Is it possible to have too lofty of a goal? And what happens when we feel that self doubt come up?
Yeah, that's why I like to differentiate like goals and vision because if you think about what is a vision, doesn't really have an end. I want to eradicate poverty. I want to do this. It's like, it doesn't really end. You can do it forever. It's good to have this kind of lofty, big vision to help you navigate through life. And once you have that, you want to come back to the present with some milestone, some goals that are actually realistic to you based on where you are today. So you need to calibrate your goals. And again, it's a skill. The more you set goals and achieve them, the more you're going to be able to calibrate your goals and achieve more and more goals over time. And again, build confidence in doing so. So it's a practice, it's a habit. That's why I would always say to people, start really small. It's all about habit. Build the habit, achieving a goal, a daily task, every day, one task, 2 days, 5 days, 30 days, 90 days, a year. And then you realize you can do more. And that's how you build confidence over time. That's a skill that takes a lot of time and practice.
And so earlier we talked about how most people don't know what they want. And so we need to uncover our desires through authenticity, and we need to be able to identify those desires. I- Is there any specific methodology or modality that you recommend on how we can uncover those desires?
So desires, I like to use to connect desire with your values as well. Your values, your goals. So why do you want to achieve something? You have to know the why behind something. And for instance, if you want to, if you want to contribute to the world, maybe contribution is a value you have. If you want to be independent, maybe you need to find a way to be independent in your career so that you feel better about yourself. And so that's one thing, values. The second thing is you want to take more action again, take action toward what you kind of enjoy or interested in, lead into that, do more of it, see how it works, and get feedback from people as well. So for me, I went into writing, blogging, writing. I got feedback. The feedback was mostly good. So I kept going and okay, I'm onto something right now. I like it. People like it. But if they had said like, you're really, really bad, maybe I would have done something different. So I think it's about leaning toward what you like and taking more action, getting more feedback from reality, and then reflecting on that. Again, it's like clarity, it's a process.
Right.
So you have to keep going over and over again and refine the process of getting clarity. And when you want to build more desire, it's about what I took in the book about different motivators we have. Like so we have fears, love, ego, and desire. That's how I like to break them down. So fear is basically what you said before. You want to move away from something, and that drives you to improve, which is not bad. It can be good. Love is about giving more. So I mentioned before, give more about yourself, about your personality, express yourself, try to be authentic. That would be love, contribution, giving your time, giving your money, giving your skills. That would be love. Then you have desire is more about what do you like, love do you want in life generally, like what lifestyle do you want? Do you want to go on vacation? Do you want a car? But it's kind of more lifestyle thing, what you desire. And ego is about um, again, the getting part. I want to be famous. I want to make money. I want to get that girl, whatever it may be. And that's also a good driver, I think, in the short term. But my idea is that over time, you want to move away from ego over time as much as you can toward more love. And I think I would say it's healthier. But ego is actually useful as well. I think, you want to prove people wrong. You want to be right. You want to be famous. I think it can be useful at some point. So it's kind of a combination of the four different motivators and to use them to build your desire and achieve your goals.
Because everything is a feedback loop.
Yeah.
And I love how you make a comparison between saying that a goal is merely a dream with a deadline. So true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a famous quote. Maybe Napoleon Hill, I think. So it's about, you have a dream and you have the milestone and you make it a goal by making it specific, measurable. You have a time frame, you have a deadline, and you start moving toward it. Yeah, so it's not daydreaming, wishful thinking. It's like committed thinking. I'm getting there. I'm taking action. I'm specific. I have desire. I'm strengthening my desire through different motivators as well. All this process.
And you also mentioned another Jim Rohn quote that where he says, "Success is not to be pursued; it is to be attracted by the person you become." And I think that's so true.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite quotes of the all time when I started my journey back 10 years ago now. I really like this, like just about who you become. And if you become a better person, you will attract over time, you will attract more success in different areas of your life. If you have more compassion, if you're more loving, if you're more disciplined, if you're more skilled, if you work on all this stuff, you're going to have better result over time. So instead of trying to get money, success, fame, you work on yourself so that you can actually give more, create more value to the world as a human being. And that's more of my philosophy of life. Become better, and everything's going to become better for you in a sense.
And so you mentioned a book, or you mentioned a strategy about stacking your whys and listing all the reasons that you have to reach your goals. Can you tell me what that process is like?
Yeah. So when I started my business, years ago, I had all these different goals: making money, traveling around the world, selling books, having an impact. So I kind of wrote them down and connected all the reasons why. Why it's important for me to succeed in that specific area or in my business. And because I had so many reasons, like compelling reason, traveling around the world, maybe retiring early, having an impact. And it was for me very inspiring. And that's what gave me the motivation to keep going over and over again. And I would just, again, tell myself, just have to do the work. If you do the work, you can have anything you want in your life. That's kind of was my mantra as well. If I do the work, I can have anything I want in my life. And I would go back to work, discipline myself, go back, go back, go back. Very hard. It was very hard, but it's a process. So yeah, so that's how I would do it. Where do you want to go, and how can you connect it with your values? Is it a family? You want to have a family? You want to make money? You want to travel around the world? You want a certain lifestyle? You want to be a certain type of person? And thinking of that, and then combining them together so that you have more motivation, more drive to keep you going when you are like having a difficult time in your life.
And I suppose that's an exercise that you can do if you know what you want to do, but you aren't able to force yourself to do it.
Yeah, you need to have some kind of direction in which you want to go in your life, at least some kind of direction.
And in order to be able to create those goals, we need to have self esteem, of course. And I love that you mentioned author Nathaniel Branden in his book, The Six Pillars of Self Esteem, where he gives the definition of self esteem as the reputation we acquire with ourselves.
Yeah, I really like as well this definition he gave. It is the idea that if you want to love yourself or have respect for yourself, you need to be disciplined and to take care of yourself, to respect yourself. Because if you want to be self-confident without doing anything, it's not going to work. If you only do affirmations, for instance, it's fine, it's great. But you want to do the action every day that make you feel good about yourself. So that's why I always say start with one goal, one small task every day, one challenge, a 30-day challenge, a 90-day challenge, because it creates the self-respect you need to have more self-esteem, more self-belief, and start achieving bigger goals. That's how you get started from zero in a sense, if you're starting with low self-esteem.
Because when we have self esteem, then we're more motivated and we're able to build that level of self discipline that achieving these goals require. And we have to avoid beating ourselves
Yeah.
up, and we have to practice, as compassionate self talk, right? What things can we tell ourselves?
I mean, for me, I know it would be very simple. Like I mentioned before, it's okay, Thibaut. It's okay, Thibaut. Very simple. It's okay. You're doing okay. You do better next time. Or you tried your best, but it didn't work out. It's okay. Because sometimes, we have the way we define failure is not really productive. We don't really fail at anything. We tried something, didn't work out. We tried something, reality said no this time, in a sense. So, yeah, this simple self talk and just being aware whenever you can, you see that you start maybe beating yourself up, even insulting yourself sometimes. Like we would do that sometimes. So for me, I kind of made, I get the decision or the commitment. And every time I would start beating myself up or like insulting myself, I would just stop. I would stop when I'm talking. I would stop my own dialogue and reframe it over and over again until it becomes like like a habit. Again, habit in thinking. So that's what I would do.
And one issue that you note is that when we keep breaking promises to ourselves, it erodes our self esteem. And you give an example about
Yeah.
meeting a friend. Can you elaborate?
It's like if you tell a friend, I'm going to be here 1 p.m. Every time you're late, every time you're 1 hour late, half an hour late, what's going to happen is your friend's going to stop inviting you. Or going to see you as like, unreliable, That's kind of what you're doing with yourself. If you're not keeping your promises to yourself, basically your words to yourself have no power, no meaning. So then your self-talk, your affirmation might not even work because you don't even act on anything you're saying. If you keep saying stuff, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to change the world, blah, 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 but you're not really doing anything in your day-to-day life, then you're not going to have self-esteem. You're not going to respect yourself. So I think there's a need to have some kind of discipline in our life so that we can respect ourselves and know that when we say something, we will must actually do it. Not all the time, obviously, but most of the time.
Right? Because we need to develop a reputation with ourselves that allows us to keep our promises and our commitments so that we can maintain the high self esteem necessary to have the discipline to achieve our goals.
Yeah, so that you maintain self-esteem, you maintain motivation, so you feel like more excited, you have more resources, to keep going toward your goals. So I wish we could, not have self-respect, not do anything every day, not have any daily habits, but it just kind of doesn't really work that way. At least for me, I don't know, for you. So we need to have some kind of structures every day, some kind of habits. So you're going for a walk, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating healthily. So we need this kind of habits and promises that we keep, promises to ourselves that we keep.
And so you mentioned three types of focus. We have short term, transitional, and long term. Can you tell me what these are?
Yeah, so that's actually in a book I wrote a while ago, like Master Your Focus. And I talk about these three different type of focus. So the first one, so the short term, traditional focus and long term focus. So the short term is what I call just basically distraction, being focused in a moment or not being distracted. And the second one is when you have to switch between one task and another task, how do you deal with the transition? Because sometimes you have a task, you finish it, you go on YouTube, and then you're kind of wasting your time. And it goes with planning, having a better planning, having a better day, knowing what you want to do, so that you can actually move from one task to the next more effectively. So that's the second type of focus. And the third one is long-term focus, is like basically your vision. And what I say is that it all starts with your long-term, again, same thing as I said before, long-term vision, where you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years. And then once you have a vision, you can reverse engineer what you need to do to get there today, this year, next year. And when you do that, your action today are actually aligned with your 10-year vision or 30-year vision. So it has much more impact than being distracted every day, having no strategy or no long-term goals. So that's kind of why they work together. Long-term vision and leads to the plan, short-term focus, and then just connected. What you do every day is connected to your vision.
And by focusing on, say, too many things or lacking the clarity, we never accumulate the energy that is required to
Yeah,
achieve
because
outstanding results.
again, it's all about energy. So if you're distracted, you don't really benefit from the deep work and the energy focused toward a specific goal for a long period of time. And we know that oftentimes in the world, you have compounding or exponential effect. So if you keep doing something for long enough, you tend to have exponential result at some point, sometimes in your life, your business, for instance. But you can never get to that point if you don't have energy and focused energy toward your specific goal. It's very hard to do.
And a part of that is also challenging our limitations one by one and removing the idea of who we're supposed to be and discovering the person that we want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to how do you see yourself? Like what do you want? What identity do you want to have? So I remember when I was um, starting my business, I had to be more disciplined. Self-employed, you have to work on a business, and I created this identity of being someone who never gives up. I just decided I'll never give up. It's just who I cannot give up. It's just not who I am. And I think it's really helpful. It becomes who you are. It's like saying I'm a non-smoker. I'm someone who exercise, whatever it may be. And that's what I did. That really helped me. Um, yeah, to be successful in my life. Yeah, identity, and yeah, you can decide who you want to be, and then you decide what do I need to believe to reach that goal. Who do I need to be? I need to be someone who never quits. I need to be someone who has a high level of integrity. I need to be someone who is on time or who keeps his promises, for instance. Yeah, it's a choice in the end.
Right. It's everything from sharpening our thinking, leveraging technology to multiply our time, making personal development a priority for us, developing that laser sharp focus over the long term,
Yeah.
and collaborating with other people and kind of rallying them around a cause that will increase the amount of energy that you can channel towards your vision.
Yeah, and the more energy you have, the more impact you're going to have. So that's why I talk about different leverages. And people can, when they're going to read the book, if they read the book, they can say, okay, how would I rate myself on that specific leverage now? And do I need it or not for my vision? So they can really think about what do we need to work on. So it's a framework. What do we need to work on to increase their odds of success and their odds of having a bigger, magnifying their impact if they want to do that?
I absolutely love reading your book. I think everybody should read his book, Do the Impossible. And I really appreciate you being on the show today, Thibaut.
Yeah, thanks, sir. It was very nice to talk about the book for the first time in a podcast. It was nice. Thank you.